Welcome to True Vine Talks with Rachel and Linda. We're so happy to be here today. We've got sunshine and the June months here.
Yes, it's feeling like summer.
Yeah, so today we want to process transitioning from being a teenager into being an adult, a young adult.
Yes, we're gonna talk about that, like 18 to, I don't know, 22. What would you say, 25 kind of
Yeah.
age range,
Yeah.
where we're a high school graduate? No, maybe we're going into the workforce. Maybe we're continuing our education. Maybe we've joined the military. Yeah, and what that's like for young people today in 2023.
That's good. So you brought up, Rachel, that Erickson, who wrote the stages of development, that age 12 to 18 is identity versus role confusion. And this is a very challenging time for young people.
Yeah, this is when they're figuring out, who am I? Who do I want to be? Do I fit in? Do I belong? Will I be accepted? Right? They become more aware of themselves in their environment, right? And that's where that term self-conscious comes from. I am conscious of myself and whether people like me or not.
Oh, yeah. And this is mostly influenced by your peers.
Oh, yeah.
So if your peers are smoking weed and drinking alcohol, it's you want to belong and fit in. So very frequently you might choose that path.
Peer pressure is huge during the identity and role confusion stage. Yeah, what's everyone else doing? Do I have the right shoes? Do I have the right hairstyle? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. In my high school, we were all into the show Friends.
Oh, it's still
So
popular today. People love Friends.
it's still
Yeah.
relevant. And we all went and got Rachel's haircut.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The flip out, the
Uh-huh.
layered look.
Yes. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
So we all wanted to fit in. We all wanted to be like her and look like her and fit into the crowd at that time. So it was very important.
Yeah. And so it was important and a big deal, right? And you didn't even have a smartphone with social media telling you what kids from all over the world are into and doing.
Oh, valid point. Yeah.
People used to just worry about their peers in their grade at school or in their school, in their community, right? In the organizations they belonged to. And now it's international, it's worldwide comparison.
Ooh. Is that positive for our young people?
I don't know. In some ways, I think it's amazing. I think it's incredible. In other ways, I think it has to be overwhelming. That has to be a lot.
Yeah. From a teenage perspective, if I see a girl from Korea and her beautiful skin and how elegant she looks, and I'm an American Caucasian teenager, I'm looking at her and saying, "Oh, this is the beauty type. This is what I would aspire to look like. I'll never look like that."
Yeah.
Right. So that
Right.
could be problematic.
Mhm.
in your
Yeah,
role confusion.
exactly. Yeah. And so then you're feeling disappointed, you're feeling confused.
Hmm.
Yeah. Am
Yeah.
I ever going to be enough? Am I ever going to fit in?
Yeah. And is this the beauty type? If you're female, that tends to be, what a teenage girl's looking at. Is this the ideal? What is the ideal?
Yeah. I think it's just as bad for the guys. There's all kinds of male fitness models on social media
Hmm.
telling guys they got to be tan and buff and 6'8".
How are you going to grow that
Like,
thing?
yeah.
There is you make valid point there, Rachel. There is a surgery that guys can get their legs elongated now
I didn't know that. Wow.
uh, to reach the height they want to be.
Yeah. I've seen things that you can put in in your tennis shoe that makes you appear taller, like a wedge. So yeah. Yeah, let's not forget that guys are self-conscious too about
Yeah,
their
that's
height, their hair, their complexion, their body. Yeah.
yeah. Good reminder that it's across the board, those feelings of not fitting in or being good enough.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yes, go ahead, Miss Rachel.
I was just going to continue. Yeah, I think we're doing great. So we've talked about this identity versus role confusion. If you're confused about your role, then you're kind of like, where's my place in life? What
Mm-hmm.
is my purpose? What am I doing here? What am I contributing? Right? What's
Mm-hmm.
unique and important and special about me that makes me irreplaceable? Right. And
Mm-hmm.
if you um, do get uh, the green check in that stage of development, and you do develop a sense of identity, then you also develop what is called fidelity, which means you can have genuine, authentic relationships with people, which then
Mm-hmm.
helps individuals in the next stage of development, which is intimacy versus isolation, developing intimate relationships. And that starts at 18 and continues on throughout adulthood. And this is when people are questioning, am I lovable or will I always be alone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like, what factors might impact a person's feeling like they are lovable from the 12 to 18?
So much, right? Did I find my sense of belonging or not?
Hmm.
If not, I may not believe that I'm lovable. I may believe there's something flawed about me. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm not enough.
Hmm. Yeah. Did I get to start on the basketball team? Was I a starter or was I a bench sitter?
Mm. Yeah, all these meanings
Hmm.
that people are making out of their life experiences, right?
Yeah.
This happened to me. And what does that mean about me? It's
Hmm.
that self consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I give an example, Rachel?
Please. Yes.
When I was in high school, I was a majorette for the high school band. We twirled batons and did
Yes.
rifles and wore fun outfits. And I wanted to be the captain my senior year. Like they would pick co-captains and captains. It's
Yeah.
just title, right?
Right.
I worked so hard on my routine that year. I spent hours outside practicing, you know, and I did it to Lenny Kravitz, Are You Gonna Go My Way? That was the song that
Nice.
it was good.
I
I
bet
think
it
I even
was.
did a triple spin.
Ooh,
Taught the
that's
baton.
hard.
Were you a majorette?
Yes, we just did rifles though. We didn't do batons. So I'm envious. I always wanted to learn how to throw a baton,
You
but
did the
do
rifle.
continue.
I didn't know you did the rifle.
Yes.
Wooden rifles.
Hmm.
Okay, so you and I have to get together and do a rifle routine.
I still have it. It's at my parents' house. I'll bring it back.
Yes.
We'll do a TikTok with our rifles.
Promise?
Yeah.
Let's look at this. I didn't even know she twirled a rifle.
Keeping secrets, not intentionally. So you did a triple toss.
With the baton, as
Yes,
if
that's
I remember.
still complicated. Yes. The more
I was
spins, the harder it is because it's got to go high and fast.
oh, and Jenny Oldacre was my mentor. And she's this beautiful, tall, blonde, lovely girl who's not with us anymore. And she taught me so much. And my sister did too, because she was a major.
Hmm.
I felt like if I'm not captain, I'm a nobody.
Oh, yeah.
And I fell short to the other girl who did a great job. And, at the time, my teenage self was angry, disappointed, and frustrated, and
Just
mad and
crushed. Yeah.
crushed because that name, that title meant something to me as a teenage
Hmm.
girl. And that's what a lot of parents don't understand is those letdowns impact whether you feel validated by others.
Yeah. Whether you feel confident and successful or like a disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you take that stuff with you into
You
the
sure do.
18 to 40.
You sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being excluded, being left out or ostracized, not achieving what you've set out to
Mm-hmm.
do, this goal that you have. Yeah. It just feels like falling short, and that's
Yeah.
such a hard feeling to handle.
Mm-hmm. And when you didn't get that, the captain of the team, or you didn't get you didn't make the cheerleading squad, or it impacts your self identity,
Yeah.
the person you are.
Yeah. Your friend group just decides they don't like you anymore, right? There's all kinds of shifts that happen between 12 to 18 with friend groups because, people are trying to develop their identity. And so they're changing, they're doing different things, trying on different personalities, so to speak.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of skins in the Fortnite game. Grant would play the Fortnite game, and they had all these different skins, and you could look like this person, or you could look like a big buff person, and you could look like a fairy. I thought,
That's
oh
funny.
yeah, that's teenagers.
It totally is, right? Yeah, changing up their style, rearranging their bedroom. Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
their space, right? Where they can be creative and explore who they are. And they'll start to spend a lot more time in there, won't they? Yeah.
Yeah. And when
Yeah.
they're, as parents, when your teenager's self-isolating, um, part of that's healthy and part of it's can be extreme, and just being aware, oh, okay, they're just finding out who they are, trying out new things and exploring.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're still spending time with friends, they're still enjoying, going to school, those kinds of things, then the spending time in their room, probably not a big deal, probably more normal.
Yeah.
If they're not socializing, they're not talking to anyone, they don't want to be involved in anything, they hate school, and they spend a lot of time in their room, they're not socializing with the family either, then maybe check in, definitely check in, see if everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be isolating and withdrawing from everything. We want to be aware of that. Good point, Linda.
Yeah. Well, you're saying it well. And as a parent, be comfortable with making your teenager uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Teach them how to have hard conversations. That's important.
Yeah. Hey, I don't want to look at your phone. This is as uncomfortable for me as it is you. And I care about what your eyes see and what your ears hear and who you're influenced by. Because Rachel brought up a very good point. This isn't the 1980s, 70s, 60s, 90s, early 2000s. We're living in a different time. And
Yeah.
how does that influence the teenage brain?
Oh my goodness. We have access to anything and everything at our fingertips 24/7, right? All kinds of information
Yeah.
that teens used to learn kind of like gradually
Mm-hmm.
through their parents or through their peers, right? They can now just accidentally stumble upon and learn unexpectedly, right?
Yeah.
About sex, about drugs,
Mm-hmm.
about, yeah, illegal activity.
Yeah. So as a parent, you're having to make them know that that what they're looking at is going to impact their brain and you care enough to be in their space. Yeah. And then they move, and then this is the part that I brought Rachel up. I brought it up to Rachel. I'm like, yeah, we really need to talk about this stage of differentiation from parent.
Mm.
And this, they're moving into their own identity and they're not wanting to take directives from you as a parent because they're getting ready to leave the nest.
Yeah. When they're not in that 12 through 16, 17 stage anymore. Now they're 18, 19, 20, right? But maybe they're still living at home. Maybe they come home for the summers. This is their permanent residence. Yeah, you're still their parent, but they're ready to be an adult. They want to be treated like an adult, right? That's a hard transition for both the child and the parent.
Yeah. What time they should be home when they're still living at home versus when they were teenagers. This is all transitioning stuff that we're going through with grants. Like, well, you know, we don't want you out past midnight. Nothing good really happens after midnight. So, so there's a power struggle there, but also like you're wise. You've been taught right from wrong. We're gonna pray over you and make sure that you've got your angels set around you. And letting go as a mom in this stage is tough.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it would have to be. You want to trust your
Mm-hmm.
child that
Yeah.
you've raised, you want to respect them, give them space, let them fly. But that's scary, you know,
Mhm.
because you don't know who else is out there. It's hard to trust all the other people.
Yeah. And you've taught them love and limits. This is something Dr. Cloud and Townsend say in the boundaries with kids and teens is you set boundaries for your kids, hey, you don't want to go over there to that party where they're doing drugs. Okay. Okay. All right. that's not a great idea because we don't want you to get hurt. And so they know those limits, those, because you're coming from a place of love as a parent, love and limits. And now you're trusting that your young person, young adult will make those positive choices for their self, their true self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so often they're feeling ready. They're ready to make those choices.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really been able to. This is kind of the, first time that they feel like they're making their own choices. That's exciting for them. They feel mature and responsible.
Mm-hmm. They value their autonomy at this stage between 18 to 25.
Yes. They've been waiting for this for so long. It's been the light at the end of the tunnel. Here it is. Yeah.
And Rachel, you said earlier something so important is they're not living our grandparents' situation. And I like to kind of process that with you. They're not in the same time frame. And what does that feel or look like for a young person today? Well, I'm thinking about economics.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rent a place right now, go to school, pay your bills, save. I mean, this
Our
is not.
economy is so different from, it sounds silly me saying this, but because I wasn't alive in the 60s, but I think I just know that our economy is very different from when the 60s, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in 79, so I don't know what the economy looked like in the 1960s. I don't know if you could sustain yourself at that age. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know.
Well, from what I understand, just from like history and what I've read, is we have transitioned from an industrial society to a technology society.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be you could graduate high school and go to work at a metal plant or a coal mine, get a really good paying industrial job and support a family. And your wife didn't have to work because you could support her and the kids. And there weren't as many women's rights. So women weren't driving as much. They, didn't vote. They couldn't go to school and continue their education as often. And, so when you graduated high school, if you did at 18, it was important for you as a woman to find a husband because you needed someone to support you.
Good point.
We don't live in that world anymore.
Uh-uh.
So it's like, unfortunately, there has been a huge decrease in jobs. That's not good. But there has been a lot of good things happening, as far as, women are able to continue their education and get a job and feel more confident in themselves and be financially independent if they want to be.
Yeah.
That has extended, right? We've moved from people getting married from like 20 to 22 to I think the median age now is like 27 to 29.
Cool. And we live longer than we did in the 1960s, 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you might live to what, 50, 60? I don't know back then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Somebody can correct me on the podcast if I'm wrong, because Charlie told me, my wise husband, he said, if you survived your teenage years in the 1960s, you were likely to live an age span to 72 as well as you do today. I do think life was much more hard then in the industrial age where you're a minor.
I do too. That would
And
be so hard
yeah,
being an adult at 19.
and you already got a
Yeah,
wife
right.
and kids,
And kids, right? All this responsibility. Yeah,
but your house payment or your rent wasn't, 1,500 or more.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
in referencing that, how does that kind of impact our kids today and how, you know, older, wiser others approach them with their frame of reference from their
hmm.
teenage years?
I think there's still this expectation that once you graduate, um, you're supposed to know what you're going to do with your life. Everyone starts asking you. And
Mm-hmm.
let's keep in mind, these folks just left identity versus role confusion, right? They're kind of still in it at 18, right? They're trying to figure out, am I lovable or will I always be alone? And every conversation they have with people, so what you gonna do? Right? That's basically
Oh,
asking, who are you? They're like, I don't know. I just kind of barely figured it out. I'm still working on it, you know?
yeah.
That's a intimidating question for people. Yeah, when they're in the middle of it. What are
Mm-hmm.
you going to school for? What are you going to do? You got a job? You need to get a job. Where are you going to work? What are you going to do? Right. Which is coming from a genuine place. They're trying to be encouraging or just genuinely curious, right? Want to continue to know who you are as a person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But there's this like emerging adulthood, I think is what they're calling it now, between like 18 to I don't know 23, where people are continuing their education, figuring out what they want to do with their life, maybe taking a gap year, maybe traveling, maybe yeah, seeing the world and yeah, just exploring more of who they are and who they want to be.
Mm-hmm. I highly encourage and recommend enjoying your youth.
Yeah. And I think young people are. I'm
Yeah.
seeing more of it. Yeah.
If I could talk to my 18 to 23 years old self, I would tell her go to Spain, learn the Spanish language, go see some amazing waterfalls in Croatia. Do
Mm,
do enjoy, find ways to pay for these things and go for it. You know, and
yeah.
these are opportunities that our youth have that we didn't have, or I didn't have in the early 2000s. That wasn't when I was in college. These, spend a semester. If it wasn't
Yeah. The
accessible to me.
study abroad and all
Uh,
kinds of opportunities. Yeah.
and as a parent, like being, hey, it's okay that you don't know what you're going to do. That's okay. Yeah. And I've been guilty of saying, hey, Grant, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be?
Right. Yeah.
From a
Of course.
criticism.
Yeah. Trying to
Yeah.
be supportive and curious. Yeah. And helpful. How can I help you figure out what you're going to do? Right. I
Yes.
want you to be okay. I want you to be financially stable, right? Yeah, every parent wants that for their child.
And part of that is because you don't want to be, as a parent, you don't want to feel like you're the one supporting and keeping them in the nest. It's all
Yeah.
cushy. We got the right snacks, the right little drinks for them. Because I'm very much about making it cushy and
Hmm.
wonderful and pleasant for my boy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't foster or nurture autonomy and independence and self-reliance that's necessary when I'm long gone.
Mm,
So for the parent,
yeah,
it's a really odd transition too.
absolutely. Yeah. You're kind of saying, I don't want to enable the right.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good word.
Want to
Oh,
encourage autonomy and not enable dependence. Yeah.
without making you feel too much anxiety about being an adult too.
In a gentle way. Yeah.
It's a real toggling of,
Delicate balance.
yeah, because you're, as a
Absolutely.
mom, your care system's online and their adult autonomous self is wanting to not have you caretake.
Yeah. Yeah. So parents are dealing with this delicate balance, trying to be gentle. And then you've got the, 18-year-old just graduated from high school and they're like, woo, I'm an adult now. This is my moment. I've been waiting for my whole life. Yeah. But there's still this expectation, I feel, that like, yeah, you're 18, now you're an adult. You better figure out what you're going to do for a living, how you're going to support a family, who you're going to marry, where you're going to live, plant roots, settle down.
That's too much.
That's so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When realistically, a lot of people are just kind of figuring out, okay, what skills and knowledge do I need to find a job in this information technology society?
Good point. Good
Right?
point.
Because now that we live in an information society, we've got all this technology, and a majority of the jobs require knowledge to do. And so a lot of people, to get the job that they want, need a lot of further education, right? To either work with people, right? Like we do as counselors or nurses, right? Or to do the coding and stuff necessary for all these computers and machines that are running everything now.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point. Good point. And I asked these young people yesterday at Starbucks, they're around Grant's age, and I was like, so what are you doing? Are you in college? What's happening? Yeah, I moved out, I'm living with some roommates, and my parents, they're ready for me to launch. And the other girl's like, man, I was like, oh, really? I'm like, okay, what is that like? Oh, well, I like being on my own, but it's hard. And I felt this inner mom care system. Will you come live with me? I'll help you get started. And so, but their parents told them to get out at 18. And like you said, go create your own nest, go make your own way. And but like you said, there's no tools for doing that or the means for which to do that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
access to know and get that job that would make that possible is, like you said, it requires so much education and wherewithal that I wouldn't have had at their age. No way.
Yeah.
So for those 18 to 40, the intimacy versus isolation stage, um, for the parent, be compassionate, be understanding, um, and just allow for yourself to feel in limbo with what the care system, and also allowing them to have autonomy.
Yeah.
And what do you say to the 18 to 40-year-old?
Mm. I say, whenever people make the comment to you, well, when I was your age, I was doing X, Y, and Z already,
Yeah.
try to remember that not everyone is aware that the world we're living in today is not the same world that other people grew up in, and try not to feel pressured to be like that person. No, you are not them. You are your own individual person, and you take as much time as you need to figure out who you are and what you need to get where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Because if you get locked into some job, it's not a purpose or a career path, so as to launch yourself into society, you might find yourself depressed.
Yeah. If you're living somebody else's life because
Mm-hmm.
that's what they did, then you're not living yours
That's right,
and you're going
Rachel.
to be unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. That's so good. And if you're a parent of a young adult or teenager and you'd like to get some counseling around that, feel free to visit our website, truebondwv.com, and submit a form, and we'll certainly get back in touch with you and help you with your young adult and navigating this transition. Or if you're a young adult and you want to talk and try to process who you are and this change and your identity, and Rachel's
Yeah.
a great fit for that too.
It has become one of my favorite kind of age ranges to work with in the past year or two, especially with COVID, happening, the pandemic, and people kind of hit pause on their exploration of who they are and got stuck. So that was really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. And when they got
Yeah.
stuck, what happened to their developmental stage there that you're noticing, Rachel, if I can ask?
Yeah, I think that, oh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on
that's
this.
okay. I'm just trying to find the words to share it. I think people, it's like we're moving along, right? We're going through life, we're figuring things out. Who am I? What? And then bam, just the whole world shut down. And it was like, oh, okay, shift of priority, shift of focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I just get through this? What's happening? How do I adjust? And then
Mm-hmm.
things started back up again. And it was like, oh, okay, now I'm trying to go back and pick up where I left off before everything changed. Right. So there's just like, and people's values changed and priorities changed during the pandemic too. So, yeah, I find myself with this age range of individuals really working on what is it that I believe? What are my values? What are my morals? Who am I at my core?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's really exciting for people to figure out. And you just watch them become more and more confident. It becomes easier for them to set boundaries because they've got this strong sense of self, this identity, these values. So it's a beautiful thing. I love watching that transition happen.
Oh, and if you're listening, Rachel's perfect for that age range. And I know she's getting ready to go on vacay and she gets back, and you have a young person that you would love to have a strong, older, wiser other to mentor the stage. Rachel's your gal.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate our listeners listening to our podcast every week. And we hope that what Rachel and I share is helpful and insightful to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye.